Hi guys, I'm Maria Brown. Welcome back. Well, today we're going to make a kid-friendly version of a cake pop. This is a special request for you, Sophia. Now, before we go any further, be sure to subscribe. Okay, come on, let's go get started. Now, don't let anybody fool you by telling you it takes 30 minutes to make cake pops. That's just the final dipping stage to decorate them at the end. That does take about 30 minutes, but there are plenty of steps you have to take before you get to that. So you have to allow 3 hours to make cake pops. You have to first make the cake and you have to let that cool completely. So it's really better if you can make it the day before. Then you crumble up the cake and mix it with frosting. Then you roll them into balls, sort of like meatballs. Then you refrigerate those. And then you take them out of the refrigerator and temper them, and that means to let them warm up a little bit. And then you dip the sticks into chocolate and dip them into the balls, let that dry, and then you decorate them at the end. So you have to do that whole process to be able to make cake pops, and it does take 3 hours. Okay, let me show you how. I'm going to make the cake today and let that completely cool, and I'm not going to use it until tomorrow. You're also going to need some frosting for it. In addition to that, you're going to need a chocolate coating and get a bag of that. You can also get those candy melts. They're not my favorite because I feel like they're not really chocolate, but they're easy to work with. You can use those as well. You need lollipop sticks. Get these in the Wilton aisle, Walmart, Kmart, or Target. Any of those kinds of stores will sell all the things that you need. They almost all have a Wilton aisle where they have specialty baking things, and that's where you can find the lollipop sticks. You also need some sort of styrofoam. You can also get the green styrofoam at the same store. Now, the one thing about making cake pops is you don't want it to be super moist. So what we're going to do is just use a little bit less oil. We'll follow the baking instructions on the back of the box, but instead of using a half a cup of oil, I'm just going to use 1/3 of a cup of oil. So I'm going to cut down on that a little bit. The reason you don't want your cake super moist is because it won't stay on the popsicle stick. You need to have it a little bit drier. So I made the cake yesterday. This is a kid-friendly recipe because I just use a boxed cake and store-bought frosting. You can also make these with your own cake recipes and your own buttercream frosting. We're just going to start by taking 1/4 of this cake and we're just going to crumble it up into a bowl. So I'm going to keep doing that. Take a look at those nice crumbs. A cake pop is basically a baked cake crumbled up, and just a little bit of frosting is added to make it a binder, to hold together better. With 1/4 of the cake, I'm just going to start with a small spoonful of frosting, and I'm going to work this in to see what that consistency is. So basically, you want to be able to roll it without it crumbling apart. So just keep working that frosting in. You don't need to use gloves to do this. You could just use your impeccably clean hands. So just keep working that in until you can roll it without it breaking apart. That's pretty close. That broke apart a little bit. I'll need to add just a little bit more, but I'm almost there. Okay, so we're just gonna keep working this together. It's all starting to come together there. Now I'm just gonna work all those crumbs into it, and you just want to work it into a ball. Take a look at that. That's just 1/4 of the cake, and so you're gonna do the same thing with the rest of the cake. So here's your dough ball. I'm going to use a 1 tablespoon scoop. My cake balls are going to be heaping. It's a heaping tablespoon, and so they're going to be bigger. It's going to be more like 1.5 tablespoons. The best thing to do is to knead it a little bit. Do it in between your fingers, give it some pressing, and then once you've done that, then you can put it in the palm of your hand and start rolling it into the ball. This is going to give you a nice smooth cake ball. As you're rolling these, you just want to add, some gentle pressure to them to roll them, like you're rolling a meatball. If you find any cracks in them, can you see that crack? Now, if the crack is too big, just knead it together again and roll it all over again. If it's just a small crack, just pinch it together and then just roll that a little smoother. That's all you need to do. Can you see how smooth that is? That's beautiful. That's what you want. And I'm going to just put it on a cookie sheet that I've put some wax paper on. And now we're going to do the next one. Okay, so that took me about 30 minutes to roll these into 24 cake balls. And now I'm going to cover it with some plastic wrap and pop it in the refrigerator for 30 minutes to 2 hours. You really want to chill these cake balls so that they solidify. These have been in the refrigerator for about 45 minutes. Now I just took them out and I'm going to let them just warm up a little bit because we don't want them really cold when we dip them into our melted chocolate. So now I'm melting the white chocolate. I've just put it over a little double boiler. This was the bag of white chocolate. I also put in 1 tablespoon of shortening just to give it a nice consistency for dipping. Look how nice that looks. If you're using the green styrofoam, just make sure that you wrap it in plastic before you use it. So poke some random holes in your styrofoam, just some random holes to get ready for this. What we want to do at this point is we want to dip our stick into a little bit of chocolate and then we're going to put it into the cake ball. Dip the stick into the chocolate, just about 1/2 inch, and then all you do is stick it about halfway into your cake pop. You don't want to go all the way through. You just want to go halfway through to maybe 3/4 at the most. So dip it in and just take the little excess off. Go into all of your cake pops and then let that set for a few minutes. These need to dry before we can coat them, but you might find that as you're dipping the stick in, you might get some cracks in your cake balls. Cracks are the enemy. If you leave that crack in your cake ball, it will have a crack in the chocolate as well. But what you can do with a crack, you can take a toothpick and before you coat this, you can fill that in with some chocolate and then you can dip it. So I just dipped a toothpick in and we're just going to, almost like glue, we're going to put some chocolate right inside there. Fill that in. And then just scrape off the rest to get it fairly smooth. It's like gluing it together. So you just fill that in with your toothpick, scrape off a little bit to smooth it out. You can smooth that out with your finger if you want, and just let that dry. Now that our sticks have set and we've repaired any cracks, we're going to get ready to dip these. Now get everything ready for dipping. You want some sort of container that you can put your chocolate into, deep enough and wide enough to be able to dip your cake pop into that coating. And you want to have your sprinkles ready. You can use really any kind of topping. There are lots of things you could use. You could put nuts on it, coconut. I'm just going to use sprinkles. Get those ready because once you dip, they start drying very quickly. So you want to then coat with your toppings and then put it in your styrofoam to let it dry completely. Okay, here we go. This is all you have to do. So here's my container with my chocolate in it. And I'm going to just dip this straight down, right to the top of where that chocolate is. Pull it straight up, and then you need to get the excess chocolate off there. So you can just wiggle it, just keep wiggling it a little bit. And you can do is hold on to it and tap your hand to get the excess off. You want to get that excess off and give it twirls and smooth that off. And coat it with your sprinkles as much or as little as you want. And then just put it right into your styrofoam, any one of those holes, and just let it dry. Then go ahead and do the next one. Dip it straight down, right up to where the little dot is, and get off that excess. You can also tap it on the side. When you're tapping on the side, make sure you hold it very close to the ball. This is way too much movement back here. There would be the possibility of the cake pop falling right off the stick, so hold it close when you're tapping. You want a nice smooth chocolate coating on there. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm gonna put the sprinkles on. Let that one dry. That's all you do. So here they are, all finished. Wouldn't somebody just love to have those for their birthday? Or they'd be great for a bake sale. Everybody loves cake pops. There's so many things you can do with them. They're so pretty. Enjoy. Give me a thumbs up if you got anything out of that video. Leave your questions and comments below and be sure to subscribe. Until next time, I'm Maria Brown. Thanks for watching.